Rain, rain, rain today. The storms have rolled in. Take a little walk down, and I know I seem to take you guys on a walk in my yard a lot, but you know, until I find another place that helps me find some happiness and happy stuff, then here we are. We're going to look at some plants and some things we planted this week. We got some more stuff we got to plant work on this weekend, provided that the storms kind of stay at bay a little bit. Really pretty trees. I told you guys I wanted to talk to you guys about anxiety and those types of issues. And one of the things that really bothers me and causes me very great stress and very great anxiety is the fact that I am super anxious around storms. And when I mean storms, I'm not talking about like general rain where you get a little thunder, you get a little bit of lightning. I'm talking about these hard storms, like hard storms that have been rolling in. I'm actually walking in between a little bit of a sunshine breakthrough because it's been raining. The wind's been blowing very hard, and it just caused me a lot of great anxiety, and I know a lot of that stuff I can learn to control myself, which I have learned over the years to do. Am I a therapist? No. Am I just here to be helpful? Yes. You need to seek your own doctor, your own therapy, your own whatever it is that you feel like you need. If it's intervention, medical, mental health, behavioral health, brain function health, then you do that. I'm going to insert some footage in here, and we're going to talk a little bit about some anxiety and just things that we do or say that is very unhealthy in our brain function and our thinking. So enjoy this calming, peaceful footage that I'm inserting in now. I don't think we really realize that we actually can trigger our own selves and work ourselves up, i.e. the reason for me having issues with storms and all of this wind and all of this rain and all of these things, because it can be scary. I've lived through a lot of tornadoes in my life. I've lived through a lot of hurricanes in my life, a lot of flooding, a lot of things that I don't find happiness in, joy or pleasure of any kind. But what I can tell you is that through learning how to train our brain and train our thinking and train our own selves is extremely helpful. When we experience an emotion like, for me, anxiety, depression, you know, we usually follow it. If you pay attention to what we say and how we say it, we're following it by a ton of unhelpful statements, thoughts. We kind of get stuck in that, right? So we find that there's a pattern to these thoughts and these different types of emotions and self-statements that we can consider as unhelpful. They don't do us any good. So we have to learn that these things can become like automatic habits. I know for me, you know, if I hear on the news, which I don't watch the news, but the weather, you know, different kind of forecasters, meteorologists or whatever, I hear them mention the word, well, in your area, tornadoes could be possible, or terrible storms with high winds and flooding and all of this stuff. It puts me into a bad habit, which I tend to automate, right? So I automate it, and it's something that it just kind of happens for me. I don't really mean to do it, but it's a habit because I've done it for so long. And I'm consistent with that habit, and I'm constantly using terrible styles of things the way that I think, and it causes me a severe amount of emotional distress, anxiety attacks, especially when it comes with storms, lightning, thunder, those types of things. I'm like so stressed out. So once I started realizing that I was doing these automatic habit styles and having just terrible ways of thinking, thought processes, thinking the worst, making myself all worked up and panicky. Once I realized, hey, I'm making this worse than it is, and what if something did happen to where I needed to seek shelter? What if I froze? What if I couldn't help my family? What if I was completely useless if I couldn't get to a basement or I couldn't get to a storm shelter? You know, I don't want to be useless to not only myself, but, you know, I need to protect my family in the event something actually did happen. So I had to dial it back a lot. And I had to start using things that would cause me to stop these terrible habits, like being catastrophic with my thoughts. I was blowing things way out of proportion before the storm even got here. And it was terrible, and I would just view everything as horrible and awful, and then I would listen back to the news or meteorologists, whatever you want to call them, forecasters, whatever, and it would dissipate before it even could get to my area. And I'm like, oh, I worked myself up into a frenzy for nothing. It's a little teeny tiny little bit of rain, a little thunder, a little lightning, and I made it out to be something catastrophic, and it wasn't anything like that. It was that problem that I thought I had was quite, it was small. And then I realized that I was doing this thing where it was, I was only seeing the extreme sides of it. And I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. And then I was trying to, magnify it worse than what it was. And, yes, storms are bad. Certain types of storms are bad, but people still function in regular rain, even with regular thunder and lightning. And I equated that to just terrible things, and then overgeneralizing it and jumping to conclusions I didn't even need to jump to, like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a terrible storm, the thunder, the lightning, something's going to zap me, get away from all the windows, all the doors. It was just complete panic-stricken mode, and I did not want to have that type of unhelpful thinking. What I come to realize is that through anxiety, depression, when it comes to storms and other types of things that I was making myself anxious over, and I'm saying storms and rain because that has always plagued me even as a very small child. Darkness, being in dark places, I don't like that at all. I don't like being confined. I don't like large bodies of water, and just certain things that would make me have terrible anxiety, terrible panic attacks. And if you have panic attacks, you understand this, because they literally make you feel like you're going to die. Like your chest is going to explode. You're going to have a heart attack. You're not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. And it can be any situation or scenario that applies to you. I'm, just giving you some examples of what has, I don't like. Things I just really terrify and panic me to no end. And I had to learn over a period of time, and it's been in the last 4 years since my sister passed away, that breathing is good. Certain types of breathing is good. Bad types of breathing is bad. And, you know, you got to breathe, right? Breathing is a complete essential part of life. And it does play a role in anxiety. At least it does for me. I don't know if it does for you. I'm not saying it does. But I'm just saying for me, it plays a terrible role. Because I had to learn through therapy to breathe. And I know it sounds crazy. I had to learn through techniques that would control my breathing, because I had to learn for myself that I had to gain control over my breathing, because I needed to slow my heart rate down and also change the way I was breathing. I had to learn all different types of calming techniques. I had to remember calming steps. I had to remember to keep myself calm and doing what I need to do. Like, for me, pacing is terrible. I pace when I get panicked. I pace, my breathing changes, my heart rate changes, my blood pressure changes, and it's just all downhill from there. So for me, it depends on where I'm at in my anxiousness, my panic attack, or my anxiety issue. Typically, I like to either just sit, or I like to get in propped up on my bed with literally like 4 or 5 pillows and kind of recline a little bit on the pillows. And I have to learn what helps me with my breathing techniques. And I'm not going to share my breathing techniques with you because this just doesn't work that way. You have to find out what breathing techniques work for you to control your heart rate, to control the way that you breathe, and you have to change the way you think. Anxiety is real. Panic attacks are real, and I can tell you from first-hand experience, it does not make me happy, but helping myself get through this particular process and kind of weaning myself away from unhelpful thinking styles and things that don't help my anxiety or my depression or my panic attacks guides me into calming myself and self-helping. I have a very tough time. A very tough time. Life is difficult, but I still manage to be grateful and thankful for everything that I can, and certain situations that I'm exposed to and that you're exposed to. You get into these situations that you get into, I get into situations that I get into. We can all help each other. Breathing is so powerful because it's part of your physical state. So like in my panic attacks or my anxiety, you know, my breathing rate gets pretty high up there, and my pulse rate gets really high. I have a super ton of physiological changes that occur just in my body alone. And they are very, very painful at times and very uncomfortable. You can have all different types of sensations. You can have all different types of things that happen to you. An anxiety attack, panic attacks, they are so super real because they're happening at that time. But, you know, you can believe what I say or not. You know, I always say I'm not a therapist, but I'm just here to help. I'm here to help, and we can all get through this together. But, you know, you can believe it, but the way that we breathe is a super major factor in how all of these sensations that we get that are even super noticeable or heightened experiences when we have these anxiety attacks, this panic attacks, these depressive episodes. So, you know, you got to learn to breathe. Anxious breathing, we already got to have oxygen. We have to have that. But, you know, the body's got to still run, and it's got to run efficiently. So you got to have that balance, right, between the O2 and the CO2. That's the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So you got to maintain your balance through how you breathe. I mean, even yoga will teach you that. I suck at yoga. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, if you guys can do some yoga and get you a great yoga instructor, hey, good for you. You're doing better than me. My ADHD and all those other issues that I deal with, along with many other people, I can't stand that long, sit that long, or stretch that long. My attention span is that of a gnat. Just being honest. But yoga really does teach these core breathing methods, and if you can find somewhere that can help you, hey, go for it. Definitely go for it. And it's not like when we exercise, you know, right? We exercise, there's an increase in what we have, and when you relax, there's a decrease. But when we have panic attacks, anxiety, and even some type of anxious depressions, which can happen, this whole balance is off. It's completely disrupted. So the body needs things so we don't overbreathe, hyperventilate basically, or so we don't do these things, hyperventilate, do all those things, and cause confusion, dizziness, all different types of things. You can increase your heart rate, man. You can do all different types of things to panic. Now, I'm a retired nurse, so I can tell you, like, mostly the normal breathing rate for adults is like 10 to 12 breaths per minute, you know. But for me, man, I was way too high, way up there. So I had to chill out, calm down. I had to do breathing tips. You have to use that same energy that you psyched yourself up for something bad, to psych yourself up for calming, self-calming, self-help, and psych yourself up for something good. I love looking at so many calming things. YouTube's like great, right? So YouTube has all these great videos, and I find a lot of things very interesting. Not always music. Now, music is very calming to me, but if I'm not in that music mindset to where I feel like that's going to calm me at this point in time, guess what? I am not going to sit still to listen to it, but I will watch things that I find calming. I will listen to a lot of nature sounds, do things that distract me from the situation. Pretty things, beautiful things, landscapes, oceans. I love watching different things that have these relaxation or zen pictures, moments, movements, simple things. There's nothing complicated really about it. It's just whatever you can do to help yourself be calm and slow your breathing down, reduce your general level of anxiety, and keep practicing it, because it will help you when you're in an overly anxious situation. If you feel like your anxiety or your panic attacks are just too out of control and you can't help it, then, you know, I'm going to tell you, go seek some professional therapeutic assistance. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're more of the holistic type, great. Find somebody that is a professional in the field and go do that. There's no shame in it. Definitely no shame in it. I've done it. You can do it. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. And if you want to chat about it in the comments, then you can chat about it in the comments, and I'll certainly answer you back. I hope this has been very helpful for you. I hope you've enjoyed all this lovely, pretty footage that I've put in for you. And hopefully in some way, this will help you to calm yourself, have better thinking styles and better breathing and calming techniques, and maybe just by watching or looking at these really pretty pictures with subtle movements and different types of things that I find calming. Maybe you'll find them calming too. I want you to know that you're important. You're going to live through it. You will be okay. And if your anxiety, your panic attacks, or they get way out of hand to where you need professional or medical attention, don't feel bad about going to go get it, because there's no shame in that. I would rather you be okay than not be okay. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. We got some trips planned coming up really, really soon, and I can't wait to show you guys where we're going and what we're going to be doing. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you back really, really soon.